Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaceTurn with Candace, Cordelia, with your host, me, myself, and I, Candace, Cordelia. Today's episode is featuring Ring of Honor's Shane Taylor. You'll probably have seen him in a massive amount of amazing matches, especially for Ring of Honor. And today we're going to talk about the promotion, but definitely talk about Shane Taylor's beginnings in wrestling, as well as the state of Ring of Honor and so much more to get into. First and foremost, thank you, Shane, for being a part of this show. It's an honor to meet you and a pleasure.
Thank you. It was a great introduction. Usually, I get on people because, I should have heard somewhere CEO Shane Taylor Promotions, former Ring of Honor World Television Champion, current reigning Ring of Honor 6-man tag team, all the accolades that come with your boy. But It's okay. It's okay. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm glad you mentioned all of that because I could have gone on and on and on with all of your accolades. But you know what? It's better to hear it first and foremost from the talent themselves. That's just my opinion. And we'll get into everything that you've accomplished and also everything that's happening currently. But I want to go into just a little bit of background. A lot of your fans are, of course, very familiar with Shane Taylor's background growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, and your journey to Ring of Honor itself. But just to preface for anyone that is unfamiliar, do you care to talk about just growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, how that was for you and how you actually got your start in the wrestling business?
Of course. As with most kids that grow up in the inner city, there was a lot of violence, a lot of drugs around, a lot of crime around, things like that. For example, me and my brothers, we weren't allowed to sit on the couches in our home because my dad and my uncles would fight the drug dealers on the corner. They didn't like that. So they would come around our house probably about weekly or so and shoot up the house. When my dad went to work, that was his sort of like, all right, well, if you guys stay upstairs or you stay on the floor, I hopefully won't get a call saying somebody was hit. You know what I mean? So growing up like that, you have to grow up quick. You have to grow up and be aware. My moral compass, right, is a little different than most people's. Most people would say, who've never lived in those environments, well, I would never do this. Well, I would never do that. I go, oh, okay. What about in this scenario? Well, I mean, exactly. Do what you have to do to make sure you and your family survive. It's very easy to cast stones and talk about, what people should and shouldn't do when you're not living in that survivalist mentality. But all of that seemed normal to me growing up, right? You don't really have any perspective that's not that. Everybody is living like that. Everybody deals with stuff like that. So that seemed normal. It wasn't until I went to college, just telling stories to friends, and the looks on their faces were like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "Y'all didn't deal with that?" And they're like, "No, we didn't." Nothing like that ever. So that was a bit of a shock there, just to see, that this wasn't happening everywhere. Not everybody had to grow up with that and deal with that. But it made me a stronger person. It prepared me for the real world. Nowadays, there's a lot of people. I feel as though they protect kids from too much. You know what I mean? Like at some point, they're going to have to be able to deal with the real world, deal with loss, deal with confrontation, deal with people not, accepting them, not, liking them. Those are things that you're going to have to deal with. And growing up in Cleveland prepared me for that. Then once I left college, was All-American, played football, wrestled in college, the whole nine. Had to make some choices, and it was either try to pursue amateur wrestling full time and try to be like an Olympian and do that, or, try my hand at, long snapping and try to go to the NFL. But neither one of those really was I passionate about, but pro wrestling was something that I've loved my entire life. was a bonding experience for myself and my family. So once I left college, I found out what the independents were. And it was an independent show in Pittsburgh where I was living at the time. The International Wrestling Cartel has had absolutely a who's who list on their roster since their inception. And I ran into some guys by the name of Raymond Rowe and Jerry Myers, aka J Rock, Give It Up One Time, and Ray Rowe, who is currently Eric of Viking Raider fame. So got talking with them. They decided that I was talented enough and smart enough and coachable enough to, for them to help. And here we are 14 crazy years later.
And it's all very fascinating. One of the things that really struck out to me as you were stating your story was, growing up in Cleveland. And it sounds as though that experience in a twist of fate prepared you for pro wrestling, I would assume, just being able to
Kind
be
of.
on your feet and deal with adversity. When you got into the pro wrestling scheme of things and were starting to train, was there anything that stuck out to you where you thought, wow, this perhaps is much more difficult than I anticipated? Or did you ever have any doubts when you were starting your training about forging a career in pro wrestling?
Not so much from a skill perspective. A lot of the amateur wrestling kind of goes hand in hand with the movement and trying to anticipate movement and things like that, being prepared for anything at any time. A lot of what was hard for me to wrap my mind around was the business side of it, the political side of it, the ego side of it, right? Because I come from sports, from a sports background where my hard work and my skill determines how successful I am, not someone else's opinion of me. You see what I'm saying? And that was something that really, took a while to understand, because here I am thinking, all right, well, if I'm going out, having better matches than this person, the crowd is reacting more than this person. I'm doing this. I'm doing all the things that I've been told are supposed to be what helps you be successful. Why is this not happening? You know what I mean? And, you understand, okay, well, there's favoritism, there's this, there's that, and again, I had a mindset like football, right? Like if I run a 4.240 and you run a 4.5, chances are I'm going to be the starting receiver. You know what I mean? Not, well, okay, I'm going to have to run a 4.6 to make your 4.5 look faster. You know what I mean? Like my mind just couldn't wrap itself around that, but being in this game for as long as I have, I understand what it is now. I understand the things that I have to do, the battles that I can fight, the battles that I shouldn't fight, ones that, will help, ones that will hinder. So it really did get me ready for the crazy world of pro wrestling, because just like that, you're going to have to know when a situation is going bad, when you need to leave, when you need to move around, when you need to, maybe even call for help, you know what I mean? Just to make sure that you're safe, the people around you are safe, and everybody's taken care of.
When did it click for you, the business side of things? Was there a certain moment where you thought, okay, now I get it, now I know how to navigate it? Or do you think that even now in 2021 going forward, it's still something that even when you think you have it figured out, it just kind of, something happens that's out of your control and you're thinking, oh, I have to re-navigate what I think about the business side of wrestling?
A little bit of both, because the sport is ever evolving. So I feel like everybody's always tinkering and trying to, to learn more. But at this point, I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on it. And it's kind of just continuing to study up and continuing to see trends and figuring out how to be as creative as possible to capitalize on things at the right time. But yeah, it's there are going to be unexpected things, clearly. in the last week or so. You know, it's been a crazy amount of uncertainty, crazy amount of news. But there's also with the shock, with the loss, with the, you know, tragedies, with the, you know, things that happen, there's also excitement. There's also an intensity, you know, a lot of expectation and hope is as well for so many cool things to happen. So it's definitely an exciting and ever changing sort of time right now.
And I like the fact that you said exciting, even as we'll get right into it. I mean, Ring of Honor, the news
Right.
recently, the promotion going on hiatus and everyone involved being let go on a temporary basis. But just judging from the headlines and everyone talking, no one knows what's going to happen next week, much less at the end of this year going into 2022. So with everything that you've achieved at Ring of Honor leading up to this point, what are your thoughts? I mean, where do you foresee the company going in your personal opinion?
I mean, that's the $1 million question. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. I hope that the changes that they need to make, that have been suggested, that have been told, that have been said damn near ad nauseum for years, I hope those changes are made. It's going to be very hard to expect more success or a different result if a lot of those changes aren't made. But those are going to be decisions that are handled by those at the top, and we'll see what happens. You know, I think that a lot of the professional wrestling world has been in sort of this safe bubble because of ROH. And there's a lot of people who maybe have forgotten just how talented our roster really is. Because I would put our top 20 against anybody's, in the shows that we put on have been consistently better. And I think once you start seeing more of these Ring of Honor talents out into the independents and in other companies, you're going to see real quick that the level of difficulty, the challenge, the, you know, level of talent has gone up tremendously, and a lot of people are going to have to start playing catch up because we've been sort of sharpening each other this whole time. So I'm very excited to see what a lot of my peers are getting ready to do in the sport.
Yes. And I mean, what are you getting ready to do with Shane Taylor Promotions? You and your group of compadres, you're very popular within, not just within the Ring of Honor universe, but wrestling in general. Your fans love seeing you and seeing you in the ring and seeing what Shane Taylor Promotions has come into. So what happens with you all? What happens next?
I mean, there's a lot of potential options on the table. We've had a few calls. I'm about to make some more calls today. You know what I mean? It's very hard to move 5 people at once, but there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of places that need ready-made talent that can step into a main event role, especially African American talent. There's a lot of places that are nervous about who it is that we are and what we stand for and the message that we send out. And then again, there are a lot of people who like to take risks and can see just how much something like ASTP is needed in the sport right now, and are ready to take those chances and really have some fun. So there's just so much out. There's so much opportunity out there, and it's just a matter of finding the right fit and being able to make it work.
Yes, yes. And I have to note that you all are the current 6-man tag team champs at Ring of Honor. So regardless of what happens, you'll have that feather in your caps, which is a huge accomplishment. And you mentioned African American talent. And one of the questions I definitely want to touch upon is just the legacy that you have in this industry, being an African-American man, but also we're seeing a revolution, it seems, in wrestling. You know, we have hashtags like Black Wrestling Draws. We're seeing more African-American talent just across the board. Talk to us about what it means, first and foremost, to be an African-American man in this industry and the journey that you've had, you know, upholding the legacy that you have so far.
It's a blessing, and I'm not going to say curse. There's a blessing and an obligation that comes with it. Because whether you like it or not, you don't only represent yourself when you go out there. That's not a luxury that we're afforded. A lot of our counterparts can do that, and that's great for them. But when it comes to us, everything you do is a reflection upon the culture. It's a reflection upon the fans. And that's why it's so important for me to be able to be one of those voices that says, I'm not going to be a stereotype. I'm not going to be a caricature of Black culture. I'm not going to lessen myself or deem myself less threatening because you're too lazy to understand what my culture is. I'm not going to lessen myself to make you feel better. I'm not going to lessen myself to put your fears at ease. If you're afraid of me, but not the next man, that's something on you, not me. I want our talent, to be able to be as creative as we want to be and not be stuck in the 5 or 6 characters that they have for Black people. I want us to be able to have, and our fans to be able to have access to merchandise for as many of our stars as possible. Those are conversations that I get into on social media all the time. People go, oh, well, you've been asking for this. It better sell out because you've been asking for it. I go, I don't care if I sell one. The point is that our fans get the option to buy it. That is the point. And they had this guy, they had this guy, they had their one, they had their one. Sorry for cussing, but like it gets me so frustrated because it's like, well, we gave them this, that should be good enough. You should be happy. Wrong. That's not how this game works, at least not now. And it should have never been that way. But we have the ability, we have the talent, we have the platforms, we have the voices now to be able to say that doesn't fly anymore. So that's part of, that was part of something that I worked so hard at Ring of Honor for, is to be able to have more minority talent get those merchandising opportunities, to be able to use that platform to talk about social issues, to be able to do things and recognize talent in the sport, especially for Black History Month and things like to be able to have and recognize these things and make these changes are something that I feel is a way that I help change the company for the better. And with all of that too, then comes the pressure of being good at your job as well, because representation is one thing, but you have to still be fantastic at your job. You have to be, it's not enough to just be in the spot. You have to go out there and perform and show why you're in that spot. So, for me, for STP, all of my guys understand that. They accept that role. They thrive in that role. And we absolutely love to show up, show out, and prove as many people who support us right as we do those who, go against us wrong.
Mm. What would you like to see changed in the wrestling business? And I pose this question not just as we're talking about African-American talent in the industry, but just overall, from everything that you've gone through and seen so far in wrestling. What do you think is the most pressing thing that needs to change, in your opinion?
I believe the sport as a whole would be better if not only we had more diversity in ownership of different promotions, but in management as well, in marketing, in talent scouting, in every backstage phase of the game, because the diversity can't just be in the talent. It's got to be throughout the entire industry. Because when you have the ability to get different perspectives from marketing, you can understand, okay, not the culture is not the same everywhere. Black, just because you're both Black, if one guy's from Atlanta and one guy's from New York, they're going to be different. How are we going to market that? How are we going to, capitalize on what this individual is bringing us so we can give it to our fans? If you're from Jamaica, that's not the same as being from Haiti or Trinidad. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're from the Bahamas, it's not the same as being from Cali. Like, it's like there's so much depth and history and tradition that people can learn about. And when you have other people backstage who can relate to that talent and bring something special out of them, then it's only going to help the overall product. And that goes with marketing, with promos, with, just creative, different things. When you can tap into the individual and what makes them special, you can draw out something that they didn't even see in themselves. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take the ability of everybody from top to bottom to be able to do that. Because if you don't have that, it's very hard for someone who doesn't know the culture, who doesn't know the details, who doesn't know the history, who's never had the experience, to then tell you how to be you and market you. That's never going to work. So I think that right now is the most pressing thing. We have the talent right now. We have the talent in all age ranges. You've got the veterans, you've got the press, you've got the current stars, you've got stars, the future waiting on deck. This is the time to be able to make sure that this era is the one that builds a foundation that the next generations after us are only going to build higher and higher.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What would you do if given the opportunity to have your own promotion, right? If that was something that was presented to you, what sort of roles would you take on in terms of if it was agenting, scouting, booking, et cetera? What really intrigues you in that realm?
That's a very good question. Obviously, handling the day-to-day, I don't think I'd be a good booker, and especially if I'm going to be wrestling, it's never something that you want to mix. So I would probably have other people do the booking and the scouting. I would handle maybe the creative aspect, promos, things like that. I really love doing stuff like that, is seeing what a character is, seeing what it is in my head, talking with talent about how they see it, and coming up with cool ways to bring out that energy in front of a camera. That's something that I really enjoy. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in for myself, right? Promos are probably the best part of my game, and I didn't even get to cut one in ROH for like my first 4 years there. Like, you know what I mean? So right. It was like, people were like, "Oh, he's so improved on the mic." It's like, no, I could have been doing this. I just never got the chance. So, but I would probably handle that, as well as being sort of an agent for matches and stuff like that as well. I feel as at this point in the game, I've gained the respect of a lot of talent. And so people would be willing to hear the critiques that I have and apply them, however they'd like. So yeah, I'd probably have that role, as well as like a CEO type role, just to oversee all of the financial stuff. But outside of that, it'd probably be more just just creative work.
That's really cool. I love all of those options for you. We'll see what the future holds, right? You never know.
Oh, for sure.
What does your immediate family think about your career, your wife and your two children, especially now, having gone through and still going through this pandemic and dealing with quarantine and all of that? What are their thoughts on just the journey that you've had in your career thus far?
I think my oldest is starting to understand it a bit more. My 2-year-old is just, she just likes listening to my theme in the car, and she knows when daddy's got to go to work. You know what I mean? But they do enjoy they do enjoy watching the matches. They cheer for me when I win. And everybody's been real. So they've been real supportive. They understand that when I leave, it's not because I necessarily want to, but this is my job. This is what I have to do. So I'm going to be away, but I spend as much time as I can while I'm here. And it's, it's a team effort. If anybody was upset or it was damaging in any way, then I'd stop tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because I do this to take care of them, and if that wasn't helping, then I find something else to do.
Absolutely. Has any of them shown any sort of proclivity or inclination towards wrestling at all? Or are they still just kind of at the stage where it's like, you haven't seen that yet?
My oldest daughter, she kind of hops back and forth as kids do. But she'll say one day she wants to teach art. She'll say one day she wants to play basketball, and then just like last week she's like, oh, I want to be a wrestler too. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just wait till you want to do something else. You know what I mean? Like, if it's something that she decides later on in life she really wants to commit to, I know the trainers, I know the people to send her to make sure she's skilled enough, to make sure she's safe, and to make sure she's got the best path to success possible. But it's like it's pretty hard hustle. You know what I mean? Like I prefer you not get dropped on your head for a living. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see what she wants to do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Are there any young up-and-coming wrestlers that you have your eye on that you're really impressed by so far, and that you're really just looking at them saying, okay, this is the future of wrestling?
There's so many. And honestly, I hate doing these because I always forget an obvious one. And people see me and they're like, oh man, why didn't you? I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, there's just only so many. But obviously, the world right now is talking about Trish Adora as they should be, Lee Moriarty as they should be, Darius Lockhart as they should be. You've got, and of course I'm going to talk about my guys, Khan, Moses, O'Shea, Ron Hunt. You've got Nicole Savoy, Holodead, Willow Nightingale. There's so many talented men and women. Jordan Blade too. I'm trying to think of the ones just off the top of my head. Savannah Evans and Impact. Like, there's just so much talent around. And I couldn't, can't leave out, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ray Starks. You got, Jonathan Gresham. There's just so many people. Chris Bay. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many talented men and women that are going to be in this sport for a very long time, and are going to be able to take the torch, take the mantle, and just continue to push and continue to open even more doors.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love all of those names, 100%. Is there any wrestler that you would like to have a match with that you haven't yet, but that's on your bucket list, so to say?
Yes. We had a tag team match but I want the one-on-one, and that's Minoru Suzuki. I wasn't able when he was in his US tour to get it, but that's one that I want. I want one with Okada as well. There's a lot of people, right, that you hear these reputations, that all of these accolades, all of that stuff. And to me, the way I grew up, something that my dad always told me, until they prove it to you, no one's reputation means a damn thing. They either prove it to you or that's just not who they are. And so hearing that, seeing who people are calling the very best in the world, I hear that and go, okay, show me, prove it to me. Let me see what best in the world looks like. You know what I mean? So you've got guys like that. You've got guys like Ospreay. So many talented people. But yeah, Omega too. All of the hype, all of the bravado, all of the brashness, the arrogance, you know what I mean? Those are people like that you would love to just punch in the face and see just how good they really are. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for a lot of potential matchups and opportunities that may be coming, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. What is your prediction for the business in 2022? As we've talked way earlier in this interview about all of the different changes happening just across all of the promotions, is there anything you can actually predict that you think will happen in the next year?
As far as what?
Like there's anything that you can foresee right now, even with all of the changes going on, that you're thinking, okay, I have a feeling this is what's going to take place just within the wrestling industry itself?
I feel as though maybe throughout the pandemic, the independents sort of calmed down a bit. I feel like right before the independents seemed as hot as they've ever been, the pandemic sort of shut that down. But I feel like going into 2022, and as we get further along through this, especially with all of the talent that's out there, the independents are going to be back where they were. And with that, I think even without being in a major company, there's going to be the opportunity for people to make a lot of cash, even on the independents. So I feel as though a lot of people will be able to sort of supplement anything that they've lost with the ability to just be busier and have more shows to do.
What's one thing about yourself that you feel people would be surprised to know about?
I think kind of just how goofy I am and how much I like to joke with people. I'm someone who's very confrontational by nature, you know what I mean? But and maybe this is a part of that joking that I do. Like I mess with people, man. Like I joke with people. I rib people, not like in the crazy way. But that's just how I grew up. You know what I mean? I some of the closest people to me, we make fun of every day. You know what I mean? We just talk trash, poke fun, you know what I mean? But that's because I'm comfortable enough with them and know them well enough to know that they understand that I'm joking, that, this is family. This is just what we do. And so a lot of people, that aren't used to that get really, really mad at me. You know what I mean? That we get like, you always is it. I'm just like, bro, it's all good, man. I'm just joking. You know what I mean? Like people really get hot. You know what I mean? But that's just me, man. Like, and I always try to tell people that get upset, like, look, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't say anything, right? If I really, was like, if we weren't vibing, I just wouldn't say anything to you. It would be the handshake, hey, how are you? Okay, and move it on. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if I'm talking trash, if I'm on you, you know what I mean, then we're good. You know what I mean? Like that's just And I expect it back. So don't anybody think like, you know what I mean, it's one-sided. I fully expect, you know what I'm saying, to get it back and, you know, just have fun, because at the end of the day, when we're all done wrestling, man, the venues won't matter. The titles won't matter. The only thing that we're going to have is the stories and the bonds that we made. So that's just how I make mine.
Are you a practical joker at all? Like, do you play practical pranks on people, or are you just straight like?
No, just no, because like that, like when you start involving like people's property and stuff like that, that's when it gets kind of dicey. Nah, it's we just talk trash. You know what I mean? Like if I see you and you got ashy elbows, you know what I'm saying, I'm on you. You know what I'm saying? If your pants are too tight, I'm on you. You know what I'm saying? Like just stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'll be like, you know, I'll look across the ring and just be holding some lotion, like, you all right? You know, like stuff like people be like, come on, man. You know, I'm like, you know, like we were just in Baltimore. You know, you get out of the shower, you hit that cold air, you dry up pretty quick. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
But you know, it'd be like, hey, I see you struggling out here, boy. You struggling, huh? You're like this stuff like that. And it's gotten to the point where like a lot of the minority talent on the roster in ROH do it now. Like we'll get each other. Like, so you're never safe. You know what I'm saying? So you always got to be, you know, you always got to be lotioned up. You always got to be ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Because people are looking at you. But that's the environment that I try to create, man. It's just one where everybody's having fun. Everybody can talk trash, and you know what I mean, and just enjoy what it is that we do.
Yes. So note to self: stay hydrated and moisturized around Shane Taylor and crew
at all times. At all times. If we catch you out here lacking, it's gonna be you got some hurt feelings.
Gotta keep it moisturized. Seriously, it's hard out here, especially on the East Coast. I totally feel you 100%. So funny. What is one thing that you really, really hope to accomplish in the next year? Whether it's in wrestling or not, if it's outside of wrestling, you know, that's even more so, you know, the prerogative.
Right. I want to be able to be in a position to help sponsor other athletes as well. There's a lot of us who don't get to have the international opportunities that our counterparts get, to get the exposure, to get the platforms. Something that I'm already doing at VIP Wrestling is being able to be in the ring, especially with young Black talent that a lot of people may not know in Texas, and being able to get in the ring with them and give them a hell of a match and give them a sort of launching pad in this area to be able to go out and get more eyes and get more bookings, make more cash, things like that. I enjoy using my platform to be able to do that and share that with them. And, you know, if anybody who hasn't seen them, you know, gets to because of that match, and they get to make, you know, get to put some more money in their pocket, then even better. I think personally for me, I want to be able to achieve the goal that I set out to achieve in Ring of Honor, and that is becoming a world champion, being the face of a company, proving that you can have Black talent that's unapologetic about who they are, proud of who they are. They aren't taking steps back to, you know, make themselves less dangerous or you know, even using that perception of they simply just get to be themselves, and improve that not only our fans and our culture will embrace it, but other people will as well. I think I checked off every box that I could in Ring of Honor to be able to do that. It simply just wasn't something that, you know, people wanted at the time. Not the fans, but other people. But it is what it is. And now we're in a situation where I potentially get to do that elsewhere. so that's going to be the goal, is going to continue to push towards that and be a top guy and prove that, that height, weight, shape, whatever, that I have the ability to lead a company and do so very well.
Mm. And you mentioned Texas, and it appears that the Texas wrestling scene is just booming right now. There's so much talent coming out of the state, and so many promotions that are around and really just cultivating the talent and cultivating the scene and keeping it, where it is, or rather elevating it. What are your thoughts about the Texas wrestling scene right now, and where do you see that going in the next couple of years?
It's incredible. For a while there, you had just about everybody who was doing anything was from here. You've got Starks, Lee, me, Ray Rowe. You've got so many talented people. And for a while there, when we all kind of got signed, things went away. People were still crushing it, But Texas is so big, it seemed to be sort of like a world unto itself. But that's credit to the men and women who continue to crush it on the independents while we were elsewhere. And they've absolutely made sure that this scene has stayed vibrant. Guys like Barrett Brown, Gino Medina, you got Ryan Davidson, you've got Edge Stone, you've got the bounty hunter, Keith, Lamont Williams, you've got Dante Smiley, you've got so many talented individuals, just crushing it, and making sure that the eyes that are on these scenes stay popping, stay vibrant, and it's only going to continue to get better as more talent comes back, and is going to be able to present even more, dream matches and dream scenarios and put on big shows. So it's going to be fun.
I really like that. I really like to hear that. What is your advice for anyone that wants to get into wrestling, particularly at a time like this, where, as we stated before, things are in flux? It's exciting, but there's a lot in flux all across the board. So if you had a talent come to you and say, Shane, I want to do what you do. I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a champion. How do I do that? What would you tell them at this moment?
You have to have a support system around you of people who truly want the best for you, not who can just see what you can do for them. They truly have to have your best interest at heart. You have to have an undying, unwavering confidence in yourself and your ability. Wrestling is a lot like sales. You're going to hear no 99 times, but you still have to be on your A game for that 100th time, because that could be the opportunity that you need that's going to make or break your career, right? So you constantly have to be on your game mentally as well as physically. And then, of course, there is making sure that you understand the line between someone trying to take advantage of you and making sure you understand when you need to stand up for yourself. Because what a lot of people tend to do is they'll label people hard to work with when they stand up for themselves or they speak their mind, especially Black talent. And what they'll do is they'll go, oh, well, they're just hard to work with. No, I'm hard to take advantage of. And I caught you in some bullshit and told you about yourself. You know what I mean? And usually once that happens, it's, oh, well, I go, no, just tell the truth. You thought it was sweet. I showed you that it wasn't, and now your feelings are hurt. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I'm hard to work with. It doesn't mean that, you can't be coached or take criticism. It simply is what it is. You stood up for yourself, as you should in this sport, because people will only do what you allow them to do, and they will only go so far. So that would be my advice: is if you can do those things and put in the work and put in the time, you'll be able to have a good career. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be signed somewhere. That's not guaranteeing anything. It's simply, if you can have that, you have a pretty good chance at doing very well in this sport.
Lovely words. Excellent advice, in my opinion. Mr. Shane Taylor, thank you so very much. It has been an honor to meet you. Finally, I've been waiting for a while for this interview. I'm so glad that we had the chance to talk. And I look forward, and I'm sure everyone watching looks forward to seeing what you do next, to seeing what Shane Taylor Promotions does next, and hoping that everything works well with Ring of Honor. But we'll keep the faith, and we know that things are going to be just fine with you and Shane Taylor Promotions. So thank you for everything that you do, and we love seeing y'all in the ring.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. And thank you everyone for watching another episode of FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia. I am Candace Cordelia. Please feel free to follow me on social media, but first and foremost, follow Shane Taylor on social media. Check out his matches with Ring of Honor and other promotions. Follow him, see what he gets into in the ring, and his future is even brighter than ever before, and we can't wait to see what happens next. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.